There is a teaching shortage issue in the state of Florida. 9,000, pretty high in the state of Florida. Why do you feel like that is? I mean, you've taught in Florida for so many years. I think you would know the answer to this.
Uh, it's great to be back with you, Rob. Uh, there are many reasons. Ah, saddens me, but there are a couple of things. People are not applying to the profession as much anymore. That is one. Two, with the traumatic experiences that are happening in classroom, the fear is also very high. Just hearing a sound outside traumatizes children and the leaders who are working with them inside. So even some of the strategies that I'm working on now are having to do with how to reduce those stresses and trauma with children in the classroom and even the adults, because even recently what we just did with that since Uvalde shooting, and there was that march about schools and safety, March on the Hill. And there were young teachers who were sharing their experiences, just breaking down in tears because of the fear of what's happening in classrooms now. So I know that even in universities, they're not having a lot of people choose education as a field to go into. So that's a major part for the shortage.
You know, regardless if the governor gave bonuses or a raise, and I will research that in just a second.
Okay.
You know, teachers are making anywhere from $35,000 in the state of Florida to 50 some odd. Not really a lot of money with inflation, gas prices, rent, the list goes on and on. This is all over the state of Florida where this is happening as far as that goes. Do you feel like that is another issue as far as pay, is why we're not getting more, you know, qualified people in the profession? Because why go into a profession for 35 or even 50 grand when you can go into, you know, the stock market or be a broker or a real estate agent and make, you know, tons and tons of money, you know, and do those things?
That's a great question, Rob. And when you look at the field of education and teaching instruction, most of the persons who, the leaders who have gone into it, it was never about the money, you know? It was service, wanting to help other individuals, wanting to impact America's future or wherever they might be teaching. So wanting to help or impact the young generation. And those were more sometimes they may have had a family member who was a teacher, and then they pursued that career also. Sometimes you will hear teachers talk about when there were children and they would line up their dolls and play school. So in my experience, most of the persons, people who have gone into it, it wasn't really about the dollars. And I remember even in 2001, when National Board for Professional Standards started, and there were reasons, incentive bonuses to participate in it. And it was an intense, very rigorous process to go through. And I went through it in 01 and achieved that status and have renewed 2 different times. And I still, even now retired, I renewed last winter and I have it again. But it makes that much of a difference as a leader or a teacher being National Board certified, and only 3% of America's teachers have that elite status. But I'm sharing this because even though that bonus was there to participate in it, the bonus was taken away and teachers still pursue national board certification. So I think most of it, even though you have a valid point with inflation and where it's going, but from my experience, teachers, most of us did not go into it because of the money, because we knew already it was already low, you know?
Right. No, I agree. And I just want to get into this just to correct the record. So the governor
Yes.
did give $800 million in the state budget to raise minimum teacher pay, which is to get the districts to 47,500. So it was a little less than 50, of course. And with that, it's still stagnant pay with inflation and everything we've been just
Yes.
speaking about. So
Yes.
it's still not really that great as far as
Yes.
that goes. So you're going to lose a lot of people that may be great teachers
Yes.
that maybe wanted to be in the field, but that's just too low to raise a family, or even for themselves. It's even tough just as a single
Yeah.
person. So we'll go into this a little bit more as far as that goes. And again, for people listening to this, it's Sharon Wallen. She's been on the show before. She's an amazing teacher. She's taught for so many years over in Miami-Dade County. As far as this goes to, what can be done to get these really good teachers and these really, people that have master's degrees and are, considerably good teachers back into the field?
That is awesome. I think we need to continue to show role models of successful teachers.
Mhm.
Um, Showcase them like you're doing here with your program and then other programs such as this.
Mhm.
What are the merits of working with children? And I just happen to have some of my work to share with you. But just about 3 or 4 years ago, an African-American young man who was apparently, you would say, the class clown or something like that. By the time he got to me in 5th grade, and I taught advanced academics, so those were the kids gifted and talented somewhat.
Mhm.
But between his peers and others who worked with him, there was a low self-image, but he believed in himself. But from working with a teacher who had strategies of emotional intelligence in the classroom, strategies of acceptance, that positive peace, strategies, acceptance, authenticity, patience. At the end of the year, he wrote me a thank you.
Mhm.
And he says, thank you to Miss Wallen for teaching me, for making me a fridge. In other words, he was able to feel so cool that he called himself a turbocharged fridge. For trying to give these kids manners. So he felt the lessons we did on character ed, I was helping them. For being humble during any situation. So that's his way of saying, you didn't fly off the handle when things didn't go well all the time. For believing in our dreams and goals and motivations, accept robbery. So who might know what a kid's dream was? But this is what he has. For coming to work every day, putting up with our foolishness, meaning having to waste your time, for lifting us up to our goals, and for making us feel important. That is awesome from a 10, 11-year-old in school. So, and then he says, flip the page for motivational line. And I thought it might have been a line, but he had a whole thing on gratitude and success. And this is huge. This is the impact good teaching has on a life, a young life. And little things, success because of Miss Wallen. You show us how to be successful teaching. And these, I'm just sharing some things. There are other things teachers will have. But to have a collection of this, it means that there's something that that teacher is doing year after year. So I think model Do they incentives with funding? I agree with you. And value them, because otherwise they're really, and probably do things with safety, probably again with the gun safety, because now the trauma and fear in the room, that is real. And so then that's another issue that's really lessening folks looking at it as advantageous to go into the classroom.
So let's go into school safety. You know, Rick Scott and his administration passed a gun safety bill. Few good things, few not so good things in there. Besides the point of, you know, however you think politically. As far as that goes, what should be done to make sure classrooms, but schools in general, are safe so, you know, kids and teachers can go there and not feel scared? I'm I can't say that word on here, but extremely scared, we'll just say, as they are attending and working in the school.
Yeah. Uh, I think recently when we had that Uvalde tragedy, devastating tragedy, with those 19 children and 2 teachers, because of Rick Scott's work, Florida was held up as an example that decisions can be made. So I was pleased to really hear my state being held up as an example that decisions can be made to increase safety.
Right.
And since that happened, that Margie Stoneman Douglas event was a few years ago, I know that we have officers that are based, I'm here in Dade County, they're based at schools. And it has certainly lessened in Florida. So I think using those role models, plus also the writing and the work that I'm doing about lessening that trauma. So having events that are predictable, being patient with children, being upfront with them. You know, when you have routines that are predictable or ongoing, so everything isn't changing around them and they have to wonder. I think when the day begins, give them an idea of, you know, and I would write it on the board, like, this is what's going to happen today. If there's a guest speaker coming in, and probably since safety is such a real thing, let them know, you know, the door is locked. These are things that we do. We stay inside. Do not open the door if someone knocks on it. Tell the teacher first. So address some of the issues to at least put their little hearts at rest. And then there was that article that I, you know, wrote that if parents can also be doing some of those activities with children now in the summer, then that would be helping them to alleviate those fears, or just a little, by the time it's back to school.
Yeah, it's extremely important. We need to figure out these issues.
Yeah.
And and I do want to do another interview with you down the road about,
Yes.
you know, a recap of some of the stuff we spoke about in our last interview. But
Yes.
we wanted to hit on some of these these issues today. So, you know, as we close, Sharon, I think this is really important, and we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna do a whole interview on this. But can you talk about, you know, the book behind you, and also how you've changed kids' lives and you're helping teachers, I should say, change kids' lives now
Yes.
with your books and your help in general?
Great. Thank you for the opportunity, Rob. And the work, Grateful Reflections Journal by Sharon Rose Wallen. And what this is, it's based on some research by Carolyn Leaf, Dr. Carolyn Leaf, and she talks about those 21 days when we learn how to, and even this trauma we're talking about, well, these 21 days can help us to relearn ways to think calmly, patiently about an activity. So the teacher might have a journal where the children each have a journal. When they come in, instead of starting school immediately, just put on some classical music or whatever might be what they might want, and allow them to do some art for a few minutes. Let them draw, let them or write or express, put a summary word on their picture. And just that change, that shift in how school starts. And once it's predictable and repeated, it's gonna give them a sense of peace, a sense of calm, and looking forward to coming to school. As that kid wrote in that piece there to me, he was talking about, thanks for coming to school. So he was noticing that I wasn't missing school either. So it didn't matter what was happening, I came and I was there. So that's a little predictability. Another thing I want to share, this card I got, and this is from children again. Now, you and I know the child would not have purchased this. So the parents had to buy in to whatever was happening in the classroom. And I want to tell you, Rob, this didn't happen in class. So how the parents got the children, well, when I look at it, they all signed. And this is for the smiles and laughs and different things that we had in class. But this is a whole class saying to the teacher, thank you. And my colleagues, most of us, we can achieve this with kids because of the environment and the classroom culture that we create.
Right.
And the work here allows us to build our self-worth, and that self-efficacy is so important. And in here, it has open-ended stems where they write in what is their goal for the day, what is an inspiration that helped them to start the day, what are affirmations, and it has 3 different ways to write those self-affirmation. Because, Rob, what the research also shows, that we're always talking to ourselves. And every day between 30,000 and 50,000 words. So it matters what we tell ourselves, that inner dialogue. And when a teacher has that positive outlook and that sense of efficacy and motivation and a growth mindset for her class or his class, then the sky is the limit for those children who are attending that room.
When you're right, as Regis Philbin used to say. And we'll end with that. Susan Wallen here on Fire Breathing Rob. Susan, it's always a pleasure to have you on. But before we go, can you tell people where they can find you on the internet, social media, get your books and other materials?
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. GratefulReflectionsJournal.com is the website. And the book, Grateful Reflections Journal by Sharon Rose Wallen. And that's at Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com.
Again, Sharon Wallen here on Fire Breathing Rob. Definitely check out the books and definitely go to the website. Sharon, thanks for coming on. This will not be the last time you coming on.
No,
and I
have fun. It was my honor to meet you at that National Publicity Summit. And it has been a pleasure every time we connect. Best wishes to you and your work with the community and the difference that you make.
I appreciate that. I know
Thank
the
you,
viewers
Rob.
appreciate having you on. And we
Yes.
will definitely have you on again soon. Thanks so much, Sharon.
Yes. Thank you. We're a friend of your business. Thank you.